Welcome to Neumi Week, our weekly event dedicated to vision, growth, and stories that make a difference. Today, we'll hear the journey of someone who consciously chose Neumi, the reasons behind their decision, and the future they're building. He is a medical doctor, specialist in dentistry and aesthetic medicine, and holds a master's degree in behavioral neuroscience with over 30 years of clinical, academic, and scientific experience. He graduated from the University of Chieti and has built his professional path by combining research, innovation, and an integrated vision of health. He is a lecturer and scientific coordinator at major Italian universities and is the author of several publications. He is also a speaker at national and international conferences. He's the founder and president of ISA and the creator of synesthetic medicine, an innovative approach focused on the overall well-being of the individual. His work stands out for its focus on integrated medicine, stress management, and the balance of mind and body, elements that are increasingly central in modern medicine. And for me, it is a pleasure, and above all an honor, to introduce Professor Pier Michele Mandrillo. Professor, welcome. It's truly a pleasure to meet you and to have you here for this event. I'd like to start right away with a first question. In your journey through dentistry, aesthetic medicine, wellness medicine, and behavioral neuroscience, how important is the concept of cellular health today, compared to more traditional symptom-based approaches?
First of all, thank you, Alessandro, and thank you for the attention you're willing to give to this brief talk of mine. Absolutely, it's extremely important, because today, more and more, science and medicine are discovering a fundamental value, getting inside the cell, which is truly the core business of health, and understanding all the cellular mechanisms, from biology to pathobiology to anatomy, because those cells then become tissues, and we move on to the histology of tissues, to how those tissues function both in health and in disease. So this approach is becoming more and more important. It's an approach focused on knowledge. And since knowledge starts with the cell, that's absolutely the right way to go. Going back along our path, starting again from the cell.
So, from a medical and scientific perspective, how relevant is the topic of bioavailability today? That is, the actual ability of a substance to reach where it's needed inside the body.
The issue of bioavailability is a fundamental problem for medicine and for therapies, for pharmacology in general, because bioavailability is a parameter that identifies and determines the effectiveness and dosage of a therapy. It's the percentage, in terms of fraction, of the administered dose that reaches the systemic circulation in its active form, also indicating the speed at which this process occurs. Why do we need to be concerned about bioavailability? Because unfortunately, there's an anatomical limitation. Everything we ingest reaches the gastric mucosa, and the gastric mucosa, in order to perform its function, breaks down what we have ingested. If we're talking about supplements, in this case glutathione, what happens? When glutathione is taken as a nutraceutical supplement, it reaches the stomach and gets broken down. So if we consider the value as 100% of what's in that capsule, sachet, or drink, in the end, the body will only benefit from about 30% of it. The primary and most significant advantage, instead of completely bypassing the sensitive lining of the gastric mucosa, actually stems quite specifically, as we will discuss in much greater detail later on, from the unique possibility of taking and absorbing glutathione in the specialized form of structured water. Why structured water? Because this unique patented technology, which I imagine we will definitely talk about in more detail later, has significantly reduced the overall size of the essential nutrients found inside the product, effectively making them even smaller than a single human red blood cell. And so, The specialized delivery system for that specific chemical component works directly and efficiently through the body's complex circulatory system.
Exactly. In this regard, advanced delivery technologies like hydrostat promise more effective absorption within molecules such as glutathione. Now, as a health professional, what do you think about this kind of innovation?
It's a fundamental innovation that opens up new possibilities and, above all, new paradigms of care for all age groups. The hydrostat system, which is a nanotechnology patented by Neumi, is able, as I mentioned earlier, to reduce the size of the ingredient particles, allowing for direct absorption. By passing directly through the oral mucosa and the surrounding soft tissues, whenever we take Neumi Swish or whenever we use it, when you carefully apply Neumi Skin to your skin, a very similar process of deep absorption occurs directly through the skin layers. It is important to keep in mind that the entire future of modern pharmacology is actually found in transdermal absorption. It's certainly no coincidence that many life-saving drugs are taken sublingually, or that all pain relief patches, the highly advanced new diabetes patches, and even the cutting-edge new anti-cancer vaccine patches, they all utilize the transdermal route. So it is clearly an incredibly effective and reliable method of administration. Well, what Neumi did, following one of the major breakthroughs in medicine, was inspired by the studies of Masaru Emoto, who discovered how water, we are made up of it, 80% water, can actually contain therapeutic information within itself. That's why we talk about informational water and waterceuticals.
So, in your clinical and academic experience, how much can supporting the fight against oxidative and inflammatory stress impact overall well-being and aesthetic results?
Definitely a lot, because, as I like to say, fighting free radicals is the mother of all health battles. Why is that? Because free radicals are. Let's clarify this concept for a moment because it's fundamental. Free radicals are molecules that are biochemically unstable. These molecules are missing an electron, so in order to become stable, they have to steal electrons from other molecules. We can compare them to unbalanced molecules, eager to steal electrons from anything nearby. Our DNA, proteins, cell membranes, they steal from all of these to stabilize themselves. These free radicals are produced in our bodies, and above all, they act at the mitochondrial level. The mitochondrion, these days, we hear more and more about mitochondrial medicine. I read a wonderful book, Mitochondrion Mon Amour, but I read it 25 years ago because the mitochondrion is the main power plant of every cell, of every tissue in our body. This tiny organelle is capable of producing ATP, adenosine triphosphate. ATP is the fuel for the cells and tissues in our body. So, damage to the mitochondrion means, in turn, cellular damage, tissue damage, and organ damage. So now all of medicine is moving, just like with the cell, to start again from the mitochondrion, to understand how it works when healthy, but above all, to understand and, if possible, modify its state when it's diseased. Free radicals, among other things, also damage the mitochondria, which means they trigger and amplify what is called oxidative stress, which becomes a kind of internal corrosion of all our cells. It's as if a mechanism were imploding from the inside. So all future therapeutic strategies must be aimed at reducing the action of free radicals. And in particular, glutathione is one of the most powerful agents at the cellular and biological level for blocking the harmful activity of free radicals.
So, can we say that all diseases, or most diseases, start from the fact that the cell gets sick?
Every single type of disease actually originates from the specific underlying condition that the cell undergoes a fundamental change. Its state shifts from a condition of health and efficiency to a condition of illness and inefficiency.
So, Dr. Mandrillo, today many people are looking to glutathione as a direct solution for specific diseases. Now, from a medical and scientific point of view, how much? Isn't it more important, though, to properly explain that the role of glutathione is mainly about cellular support, oxidative stress, and the overall well-being of the body?
I would say it's extremely important because we all know that taking antioxidants, in this case glutathione, is good for us. Supplements are essential for health, beauty, and overall well-being. But with so many antioxidants on the market, all you have to do is spend 10 minutes on social media to see how much it's growing exponentially. With the increase in promotion, sales, and marketing of supplements, unfortunately, or fortunately, not all supplements are actually effective. To have therapeutic predictability and, above all, to ensure safety in their production. That's why the patented Idrastat system is so effective. I really like the phrase used in the video I watched about water being smoothed, being purified. It's fantastic. So, what's the issue? That purity. The purity of the molecules is directly proportional to the effectiveness of the result. So, knowing about and then recommending an excellent antioxidant should be a must, not just for doctors, but for everyone involved in the wellness field. Why? Because, as I said, glutathione, thank you, it's a powerful antioxidant naturally produced by our bodies. What happens as we age? This glutathione is produced in smaller amounts, yet it is essential for cellular function. So all therapies aimed at improving health, at maintaining health, but health seen from a holistic perspective are important. Let's remember that the Ottawa Charter of the World Health Organization from 1948 clearly states that health should not be understood simply as the absence of disease, but as a state of physical and mental well-being. And so, recommending supplementation, the benefit of glutathione is that with scientific certainty and a clear conscience, it ensures optimal health for the body.
So, even if there is a condition, even if there is a disease, can supplementing with glutathione still achieve a very positive result?
Well, thank you for clarifying that. Glutathione, just like thousands of other molecules, is not a cure-all for every disease. To maintain a deeply committed and strictly ethical approach, and a highly professional one as well, because for doctors, this is what we formally call professional ethics and conduct. My personal suggestion is to carefully avoid the excessive and often redundant information that is constantly circulating on social media platforms when navigating the digital landscape. These days, we doctors joke that patients get their degrees from Google. So it's necessary to ensure more accurate information, and that means reading scientific data from the global scientific literature. Every patient, just like any other citizen, can go on PubMed, you said it perfectly last time, which is the largest search engine for instant knowledge, and check for themselves. If there is a clear and direct scientific correlation between glutathione and the particular medical condition or disease, because if it hasn't been thoroughly validated and proven by international scientific boards with rigorous scientific standards, then it's completely pointless to create unjustified or false expectations of hope for these sick patients. Professor.
Mandrillo, thank you for this. Your interview was very interesting. We clarified a lot of points. Now there's just one last question left, for which I'll give you a minute. Of course, if you need more time, feel free to take as much as you need. And the question is this: what would you say today to a doctor or a wellness professional who is looking with interest at realities like Neumi, but is still in the evaluation phase?
I'll go back to the conclusions and the answer to the previous question. You need to study, 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 and keep yourself informed. It would be enough to consider just one fact. As of this morning, on PubMed, there are 203,433 studies demonstrating the effectiveness of glutathione. There are 3,443 studies showing the therapeutic and pharmacological effectiveness of glutathione. There are 321 studies that have confirmed the effectiveness of taking glutathione supplements. So these three pieces of evidence would be enough. But I want to add more, and if you'll allow me, I'll just list what I call like it's a music chart. The top 10, the 10 benefits of using glutathione that doctors, as well as everyone involved in health information teams, should know. The first one, as we mentioned, is its antioxidant power and action. Second, the improvement of immune function, which is relevant across all diseases, because when there's a weakness in the immune system, all diseases take over. There's also support for detoxification and, again, anti-inflammatory properties. So just emphasizing its anti-inflammatory action is enough to understand the role of glutathione in all inflammatory diseases, both acute and chronic, leading up to inflammaging, which unfortunately is the disease that will eventually cause all of us to die, chronic inflammation. Improving the health and radiance of the skin. I say this as an aesthetic doctor because glutathione activates the new production of collagen. And we lose 1% of our collagen every year, dramatically, starting from the age of 20. But collagen isn't just about skin. Collagen is the structural protein of connective tissue. So that damaged collagen you see in the skin as wrinkles means that the heart is also damaged in its collagen. Our joints, our tendons are damaged too. Why is that? Collagen makes up 80 to 90% of the connective tissue throughout our entire body. Also, supporting cognitive function, so the proposal of Neumi Neuro is excellent, and we'll definitely have more discussions about it, because supporting cognitive function means preventing cognitive decline, Alzheimer's disease, and especially all those neurodegenerative diseases that unfortunately are becoming much more significant statistically these days, and sadly from a human perspective as well. Also, increasing energy levels. When we feel tired, because our bodies are like machines, when we skip rest periods, when we skip them, that was a great point. In the last webinar, there was that analogy about a car needing to go in for inspection or an oil change. Every now and then, we need to sort of pit stop ourselves. All right, glutathione plays a key role as the fundamental energy element for restoring energy. And I'm wrapping up with 2 key points. Promoting cardiovascular health and also helping to manage insulin sensitivity. So another major therapeutic area is type 2 diabetes. But above all, the new frontier we're exploring as researchers is contributing to cancer prevention. So to wrap up with a final remark, I'd say that glutathione really is a molecule that allows us to look ahead. Considering the moral and ethical legacy left to us by as the Nobel laureate Rita Levi-Montalcini once suggested, this approach can truly help us add significantly more life to our years, rather than simply adding more years to our lives. Thank you.
At Neumi Week, we had Professor Pier Michele Mandrillo with us. It was truly a pleasure to do this interview. The information you gave us was very valuable and will be put to good use. What you told us was very important, and greetings to everyone watching. And we look forward to our next meeting, which will be next Saturday for New Week Italia. That's all. Wishing everyone good health and a great week.
Thank you, Alessandro. Good health to everyone.